Hello, welcome to another episode of the Project Purple podcast. I'm Dino Varelli, founder and CEO, and today we are back in the podcast studio, and I've got another special guest coming to us all the way from Norfolk, Virginia, which isn't that far for us. It's only down I-95. I've got Angela Bonner and her sister Pam Locust. Angela and Pam, welcome to the Project Purple podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Well,
thank you.
The pleasure is all mine. As I mentioned a lot of times on the podcast, how we meet people. And I think I've said this many a times. I know we got your profile, your story off of social media, I believe. And, right now, over the last couple of years, social media tends to be kind of a dark and ugly place. And we try to find the positives in that and finding people with inspiring stories to share on this podcast. So, we always try to find the positive in everything. And social media for us has been a real positive over the last couple of years, in particular with connecting with survivors and fighters throughout the pancreatic cancer community. So thank you guys for coming on the podcast. And as I said before we hit record, the first segment is always our guest opportunity to share their journey, share their backstory with us in terms of how they got connected with pancreatic cancer and what brings them to the podcast today. And with that, I'm going to hand over the mic to Angela. Angela, as I always tell our guests, you can stay as high level as you want, or you can go as far back as you want. And with that, the microphone is yours, as I say.
Okay, thank you. I'm Angela Bonner, and I am presently fighting pancreatic cancer. I was diagnosed December the 15th, 2021. At the time of my diagnosis, prior to my diagnosis, I believe it was back in September, October, I became sick, ill, out of nowhere. I came down with jaundice and itching. Prior to that, I went to my primary just for a regular, routine checkup. He called me maybe a day or two later and was telling me that I had to come in for more testing. I went in for testing. Again, prior to that, during the course of that call, the very next day, I promise you, the very next day, I was up. When I got up, I woke up with jaundice. The yellowing of the eyes, the itching of the skin, all of that without an explanation whatsoever. I called my doctor, of course, and, he had me to come in. I went in and he did a battery of tests on me. I was tested for, he was almost certain that it was some form of hepatitis. I was tested for hepatitis A, B, and C, a total of 6 times, all 6 times coming back with a negative, finding. They took me through, a battery of tests, different tests, lupus, sickle cell. I was asked, had anybody come into my home and spray for any kind of pesticides or anything. All the while, I'm getting worse and worse with the jaundice, the itching. My stools began to change colors. Mm-hmm. Fatigue had set in. My health just went downhill. I mean, fast, rapidly, very, very rapidly. Fast forward, I was referred to a gastro doctor who performed more tests. Finally, he did an endoscopy on me, and that's when he found that my bile duct was blocked. My gastro doctor wasn't satisfied with just my bile duct being blocked. He said that he felt like it was much more going on with me, considering all the symptoms that I were displaying at the time. He asked me to come back the following week to do a second endoscopy. And that's when he found that I was found to have had a tumor on my pancreas, and he did, let me know that it was cancer. And that was December the 15th, 2021. And from that day to this day right here, I'm still trying to process it. I'm still trying to I don't know if I want to say accept it because I believe that daily I'm accepting it. Um I don't know. I don't know how to I don't know how to put it into words, my thoughts, my feelings. All I know is I'm in the fight of my life. According to my physician, they seem to have caught it early on. It's the tumor itself is wrapped around some main arteries and veins. I am a candidate, which I am so grateful for that I am a candidate for the Whipple surgery. Prior to me having the Whipple surgery, I have to have chemo, in which I've already done 8 rounds of chemo. They scheduled me 12. I've done 8 so far. I'm in my today makes the second week of radiation. I had a scan done back in mid-April, and it did show signs of the tumor. Um, it was no sign of spreading at all. So I'm grateful, for that. That chemo is working. I have had no significant side effects from chemo other than um the fatigue. Um, what is it? I lost my train of thought. I'm very fatigued from time to time. The neuropathy has been a major side effect for me. Some constipation, but I'm seem to be getting a handle on that as long as I'm able to, as long as I remember to take, my Metamucil and my fiber supplements daily. Um, Again, I'm in the fight of my life, and I'm educating myself. Trying to educate my family, anybody that I come in contact with that care to listen to my story. I'm trying to educate myself so I can better educate them. Along with my family has even began fundraising and giving to the Cancer Society, all in hopes of because my thing is how can you treat what you can't find? And what I'm learning from this particular cancer, when it's very hard to detect. Once it's detected, it's almost too late. I'm as you said, said in the introduction, I'm on, social media, it's Facebook that is, and the pancreatic group that I'm in, the stories that I read. I mean, I stay up all night long sometimes just reading different stories and commenting and encouraging and uplifting and crying with different people. I mean, it's like I've forgotten about myself, so to speak, and trying to uplift and encourage everybody that care to listen to my story or want to share with me as I share with them, because everybody does not have the same support that I have. My support team is great. I have a beautiful support team. And again, everybody does not have that. When I go to treatment, when I look around me, everybody don't have, and not to be one to judge by looks, because you got to be very careful in doing so. But I can pretty much look around me and see, the hung down heads and the like there's no hope. And I want to offer hope to us all. God knows in heaven, I'm not an island unto myself. I need each and every soul I come in contact with. I want to encourage. I want to enlighten. I want to uplift. I want to pray. I want to build up and, encourage all of us, to fight. Again, I'm not an island unto myself. And I dare not think that God has favored me so, and not my brother or my sister who's also in this fight. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with it. I have my days every day, as you can, I'm sure understand every day is not a good day for me. I struggle. I struggle daily, really. I'm conscious to, okay, today, what do I have planned today? I'm up. Let me get dressed, and let me do something um, for the fight. I'm always trying to do something for the fight if it's no more than shopping for snacks or books, um, crossword puzzle, something to give back when I go into my treatments. I mean, because my treatments last me 5.5 to 6 hours when I was doing chemo. That's a long time to be away from, home. Everybody don't come in with snacks. Everybody don't have crossword puzzles and, things to keep them busy during the course of that time. So I've been fortunate enough to, with the help of my family and friends, to give back offering snacks and juices and Gatorade and anonymously, of course, because I don't want nobody to say, Angela Bonner did this, because it's not my doing. It's all by the grace of God that has allowed me to do this. And again, that's just where I'm at, with it, because I'm a firm believer whichever way it goes is well with my soul. Whichever way it goes, we're here for just whatever the length of time God allows any of us to be here. We're not here to stay. We all have that day where God is going to call us home. How we're going to go, none of us knows. But I want to be able to, again, whichever way this goes, I want to be confident in the fact and knowing that I know God, my God is a healer. I know God has given me the fortitude and the grace to shower others, with hope. And that's just my thing. I want to be that hope that my brother or sister may not have. Because it's not easy, God knows, in heaven, and all cancers matter. I don't care what the diagnosis is. Although my prognosis, it seems to be good or whatever, and it is good according to my physicians. Again, just the mere fact of hearing you have cancer, you know what I'm saying, and not this cancer is mean, it's aggressive, and it's nothing to play with at all. No cancer is, for that matter. But I've come to learn, and I'm learning daily, that pancreatic cancer is a beast. But it picked with the wrong one when it called my name, because I'm for it. I'm for it.
So powerful, Angela. Thank you for sharing that with us. So I've got a couple questions, and I want to start kind of, might go a little bit before diagnosis. Now, you said the real main symptoms started around September, October with the jaundice and the itching. But if you look back, and hindsight's always 2020, were there situations, or was your health okay prior to that, or situations, I should say, that, you look back and go, well, I was jaundiced like 3 years ago, but then it went away and I didn't think anything of it. Or something along those lines that, again, hindsight's always easy. It's 2020, because we know what we know now, but we didn't know back then. But was there a situation before, or was there any other underlying health issues that may have been kind of an indication that something might have been going on?
I thought about this, and I do think about this, looking back. I do have, health issues, underlying health issues prior to my diagnosis. But none that would indicate, or to have my doctors to indicate, let's do further testing, or, I've had 2 hip replacements. I come from a family of obesity. I'm in the blind about my father's side of, as far as his medical history, but I come from, a history of diabetes and high blood pressure, hypertension, and gout and arthritis, and, all of that, but as far as jaundice and itching and my back hurting and anything that would have my physicians to look at my pancreas. No. Mm-mm.
And in terms of family history, cancer, has there been a history of cancer in the family? I know probably our audience listening at home is going to want me to ask the follow-up question to that would be genetic testing.
Again, my father's side, I don't know my father's history, medical history. My mother, her mother, had cancer. My grandfather's mother had cancer. I'll let my sister Pam share her story. She's a 12-year cancer survivor herself. Not related to the type of cancer that I'm experiencing now, but still cancer. But no, it was breast cancer for my grandmothers, both breast cancers. Yes.
And so then when you got diagnosed, did they do genetic testing? They should have done genetic testing on you because you just got diagnosed recently, and that is a requirement. Did anything come back from that, or anything that they saw that was linked to some sort of genetic mutation possibly?
My doctor and my oncologist and I talked about that. There's no link, nothing in the test that revealed that I inherited it, from maternal or paternal parents. Nothing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you've gone through the chemo regimen, you're into radiation. Sounds like you're having normal side effects. And I say normal, I put those in air quotes
Right,
for
absolutely.
those listening, because there's nothing normal about neuropathy and the other side effects that happen with chemotherapy. But your status quo, I guess we would say. So is the plan then to do more chemo after the radiation and then retest and see if you are a surgical candidate at that point?
The plan, as you just stated, I will have further testing. I do have to finish up the because I was scheduled for 12 rounds of chemo. I've done 8 so far. So the last 4, according to the oncologist, I will have to do the last 4 after the Whipple surgery. So that will complete the 12 rounds. My radiation is for 5 weeks. Again, today was my second. I'm starting my second week. Scheduled 5 weeks, 5 days a week for 5 minutes. So my number is 555.
And then they'll reassess after the radiation and figure out the next course of action, I guess.
Right. I have to go through a panel of testing with all the different types of scans prior to the Whipple surgery. So I'm scheduled to have completed radiation the 25th of July. So I'm thinking maybe the week thereafter or 2, that's when the testing will start again prior to me, having the Whipple surgery.
I want to talk about something. You mentioned something early on about educating yourself, and I guess I would say I'm putting words in your mouth here, as they say. I guess speaking for you, where you were just kind of gathering information, gathering information from all sources, right, to educate yourself on pancreatic cancer. Can you look back? Is that just who Angela is, or was there something in this journey that you realized, hey, like I gotta get information on this, or I gotta get up on this information?
Prior to my diagnosis, I wouldn't have researched or sought after literature or any kind of material as it pertains to pancreatic cancer per se. Breast cancer, yeah. My sister's type of cancer, yes. But pancreatic cancer, I wouldn't have sought after that particular cancer. Also, we have a close friend whose mother, um, we lost her to pancreatic cancer. And we supported, that particular friend in her mother's, walk and fight with pancreatic cancer. But I wouldn't have thought after, trying to find out about pancreatic cancer. I wouldn't have. But now with the diagnosis, and again, I did mention not just pancreatic cancer, all cancers matter. All cancers matter.
It's powerful. Can you reference on that note? Has there been a resource that's been really, really powerful for you that you want to share with our audience, maybe? Whether that's been on social media or the internet, or maybe someone referred you a book or something to that matter?
I stay on YouTube, Pan, the organization Pan, Purple Stride, you all, Facebook. There comes a time where you will have a person that's in the fight and they'll offer information or they'll offer referrals. And, I would, jot it down, write it down, and follow up like that in hopes of just trying to take it all in. Any information that I'm, able to obtain from any resource, I'm willing to, learn from it and share what I've learned. Not to say that it'll work for the next person, but when you don't know and you don't have testing, because as far as I know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's no testing for we can go get a colon, nostril test, test for breast cancer. There's no test for pancreatic cancer at all.
Nope, there's not. There's not. So it's probably the most frustrating thing within this disease is that there is no early detection. And unfortunately,
no early detection at all.
Most people are diagnosed late stage. The fact that, you talk back to your case, that you're having these options of potential surgery, given the course of action that you're going is super positive. For a lot of people, that's not an option.
That's not an option, absolutely.
And so that's a real frustrating thing as a patient advocate, as we're patient advocate group. We know with all diseases, the earlier you get to disease diagnosis,
early detection is the best detection.
Yeah, you hit it right on the right on the head there. That's the challenging piece, and so we are pushing. I know there's a lot of groups pushing, for early detection. But I will say this though, Angela, sharing stories like yours, where you if you have itching or weird rashes or you turn yellow. I mean, jaundice is a pretty, I would say, out of all the symptoms and signs that are for pancreatic cancer, jaundice, I think, to me, and this is my personal opinion, is probably the most glaring and the one that lights up for me, because yellow is not normal.
Right.
Having lower back pain, even bowel movements, fatigue, those all can be like really random and vague in the sense like, hey, you just ate something or you got the stomach bug and, your
Absolutely.
bowel movements are all over the place. You're losing weight because, we've had people on, that they've lost weight because they started a new diet routine and, they're working out and they're eating and drinking healthier.
Right.
And, weight seems to kind of just fall right off. Back pain, people throw out their back all the time, walking, picking up stuff, there's a variety of ways that happens, and the same can be said for abdominal pain sometimes too, like you may eat something and it just may not sit well. So there's a lot of, acid reflux is another one we've heard a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
But again, that could be just dietary, like you went out and had a
Absolutely.
drink or had a glass of wine and it just didn't sit well. So a lot of them are super, super vague. Even the like we've had people say they had rashes, and that could be like, you just use a different detergent in your
Mm-hmm.
clothes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a frustration, from the advocacy side and then from the patient side, just a lack of testing when it comes to early detection. Because if we look at other specific diseases like a colonoscopy, right? You have the colon cancer, you have the colonoscopy, very simple procedure. It's painless. You're knocked out, and they'll know within minutes what's going on.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
For men, you've got prostate,
Right.
PSA test. For women, you've got
Right.
the pap smear for ovarian cancer, right?
Right.
And for women also they have mammograms for breast cancer, right? You mentioned
Absolutely.
breast cancer a couple of times. And, for other cancers like melanoma, they can do all sorts of testing, and you can go to a dermatologist, and, he can kind of tell right away if something is cancerous or not, typically. And, if he needs to, he can find out pretty quickly. And that's kind of a surface cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is super, super frustrating
It's very frustrating. It's
that
very frustrating.
we are in 2022, and I don't think we've gotten a little bit better. We do know that genetics do play a piece into pancreatic cancer. About 10% of the cases, nationally are from some sort of genetic mutation. So if we can identify folks with certain genetic mutations that are not cancerous, that don't have the cancer yet, I should say, and then we can put those people in surveillance. And that's kind of a shorter stroke for that population. But the hope is that, by what we learn from that segment of the population in particular, we can hopefully then bring to the greater percentage of people and the general population in terms of pancreatic cancer, and potentially come up with screening and diagnostic tools that potentially would be able to tell clinicians and doctors that something's not right and someone needs to be
Absolutely.
seen ASAP versus, these symptoms and signs. Like, even to, I mean, I hate picking on doctors, or, hindsight is always 2020, right? But
Right.
looking at my notes, you started in September and then you were diagnosed in December. So that was 3 months of not necessarily knowing what was going on, but something was going on. Just
Yeah.
imagine if, you went in on a Monday and you found out on a Wednesday, or a Thursday, that week, you'd find out like what really is going on. And I think
Yeah.
that's
Because
what,
with this time is of the essence with this
yeah,
particular cancer. Yeah.
yeah, time is certainly of the essence. And so that's where I hope we get to. But, this is again going back to you sharing your story. Maybe someone listening, is going through something very similar, in the sense that they've got jaundice, they've got some itchiness, they've got some GI issues, and, they're not getting all the right answers. Maybe that's the shout out to them, Angela, to advocate, to, do an endoscopic ultrasound or go see a GI specialist right away. Don't wait.
Right.
And so that's kind of the hope that we hope here at Project Purple with this podcast, by sharing these stories of how people were diagnosed and the signs and symptoms that they had, and the stories that they share, that we hope we do our part in helping to raise awareness and amplifying. I think that's the other piece of this, is we just need some more amplification. Clearly, you and I are in this space every day, but most people don't talk about pancreatic cancer
Mm-mm.
day in, day out. You hear other cancers, whether it's breast cancer or lung cancer,
Right.
which are a little bit more popular, I guess, if there is
Mm-hmm.
a popularity contest
Right.
in the
Mm-hmm.
cancer space. But that's where I hope, this podcast as well amplifies the messaging of what pancreatic cancer is, and continuing to raise awareness for people like yourself, and for people that will be diagnosed tomorrow, the next day, and next week, and for months beyond that.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
I mentioned, we talked about educating yourself, and then there was something else that I heard you talk about a bit early on as well, that I wanted to talk about, and that's faith.
Mm.
What has your faith been for you during this journey? And I want to start there, and then I have another question on that.
Okay. My faith has my faith has and is being tested. Because it's easy to say, I believe, I trust, I can count on, I can depend on. Wherever your faith is, geared to or girded in. Because when everything is going super well, when you don't have a worry in this world, it's easy to say that you're rooted and grounded. But the minute life, when I say life, because life can sometimes throw us some curveballs and lemons and all that, and just trials and troubles and all that, will you still be able to stand and say, I have faith and I believe and I know, and I'm a firm believer that my God is able and He's a healer. And I live my life that way. I confess that. I speak that. I try to let that show in how I live and how I don't want to say one thing, but say a certain thing, but my life is not displaying what I say and what I believe. I'm a firm believer. My faith is strong. I'm rooted and grounded in my Lord and Savior. That's all I have. That's all I know. I know nothing else. And again, I don't want to be a cheerleader because I have every need met and I went to the doctor and my report was good. And, there's no worries, there's no concerns. So I'm good. I'm happy. I'm shouting and I'm in a celebratory mood. That's easy. That's easy. But when the report doesn't come back that way, in which it didn't for me, December the 15th, 2021, I didn't get a clean bill of health. I got a report, whereas, you have pancreatic cancer and this thing can go either way. And where my tumor is located, I think I did mention that it's wrapped around veins and arteries and all that.
Yeah.
That's not a good report. That's not a good report for anybody. But I still want to be, even in that bad report, there's hope. There's hope. I have grandchildren. If I didn't mention it before, I have grandchildren. I have 4 daughters. I have nieces and nephews. I have other children that call me mom. I didn't have them biologically, but I'm mom to them. I'm auntie to them. I'm a mother. I'm a friend. I'm a wife. I'm a leader. And I'm going to say this. I'm a survivor. That's who I am. I'm a fighter. And I would dare not. I have a bag that says cancer chose the wrong chick. And I live by that day in and day out since day one of the diagnosis. My faith is strong. Do I have days where I get up and I don't want to get up? In my mind, I don't want to get up, but I know I have to get up. Then I have days that because of this, the ugliness and just the awfulness of this disease itself won't allow me to get up, But I fight day in and day out to show up at my very best, declaring and decreeing that I'm in this fight, and I'm not gonna give up. I'm not gonna give up because I want my brothers and my sisters who's also in this fight or whatever type of diagnosis that they may have received to know that there is hope. There's hope. And we all have something to be hopeful for, be it in, just looking out the window, open up your blinds just to see the sunshine. That's hope. That's hopeful to me. The forecast here in Norfolk, Virginia, they're calling for a storm later on today. I'm so looking forward to this storm, just the small things that we would ordinarily, take for granted. I try to see the good in everything and in everybody for that matter. But, that's where I'm at in my faith. That's all I have. I'm a very strong woman of faith.
That's so powerful. But I got to ask the question, Angela. Can you look back? Was there a moment in time, and I call it a tipping point, that occurred? Or was that something fundamentally that you were raised in, that you believed in, and you've always been that way?
I was brought up that way. I was brought up that way. I don't care. I come from very strong women that taught us about God and to believe and to hope for the best. And, I don't care what the situation is. You don't have to look like what you're going through, and believe God, and God has never failed us yet. And that's all I know. And I didn't just get that from my mother and my grandmother. I got that from neighbors who was also rooted and grounded in their faith. I got it from older women who would be in whatever the struggle was, in their life at that particular time. They had hope. And although their situation was one way, they spoke a different way, contrary to what they were going through. They spoke differently. And I used to say, well, how can you say this, that, and the other when clearly before you is something totally, it looks grim. Your situation looks very, very grim. So how can you speak something that you can't see, that you can't feel, or, how can you speak contrary to what's right before you? And that's what faith is. That's what I believe it is. That's what I know it to be. Speaking those things that are not as though they are. Because if you speak to your situation, you will speak to your situation enough till you start seeing things change. And another thing I'm learning, and I know to be true, the situation may not change, so to speak, but you will begin to change the way you think about it, or accept it, or deal with it, or handle it. I believe in journaling. When I got this diagnosis, I didn't want to write about it. And I just started writing again last week, because this is my reality. I didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to, because to me, seeing it on paper meant that it was real. Where it is real. Hello, you 8 rounds of chemo. You going into radiation. We're talking about a very, very dangerous surgery. All that. This is your reality. And I have to encourage myself every single day that this is my reality. And just because, whether I put it on paper or not, whether I write it down or not, it's real. It's real. So since last week, I've started back journaling. So to go back to your question, my faith, that's where my faith is. That's where I get my faith from. It comes from way, 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 way years ago.
You just mentioned something that just a light bulb in my head went off. Was the journaling, you said that it became real. So do you think that's part of acceptance of the reality of what you have in front of you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because of a part of me, I told I'm not going to write about this. When I first shared my diagnosis, and my family and friends, would give me, bring me gifts and, trying to encourage me. I got so many notebooks and pads and pens and I'm like, okay. But I wanted to block it out, so to speak, because again, to me, writing it down, that it made it real. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to accept it at the time. I didn't. And although I started that writing last week, prior to me starting writing about it last week, in my mind, I'm telling myself, okay, this is real. It's very real. It's real. You have the constipation, the diarrhea, the fatigueness, the mouth soreness. I've even had not sores in my mouth, but I was suffering at one point with fever blisters and the side effects from chemo and all this gravely ill disease. So it's very much real, whether I choose to pick up pen or pad or not, it's real. So I've come to accept it. And in my acceptance of it, it's time to fight. It ain't time to dismiss it and hope it or pray to go away. No, it's time for me to do my work.
It's powerful. I got a couple questions left here for you, and then we're going to share where our audience can connect with you. My first question, and I'll preface this by saying, so we get a lot of calls into our office pretty much once a week on this topic, and I always like asking survivors about this. You've mentioned friends. We have a lot of family here today joining us. You've mentioned family. The question that we get, and I'm going to ask you the question, the answer for is, someone calls in and says, hey, my neighbor or a family member just got diagnosed. What's the best thing that I could do for him? So my question to you is, Angela, what's kind of, and it could be a couple things. I'd love to hear your feedback on this. What's kind of some of the best things that friends and family have done for you since you've been diagnosed? And the reason being, I think people don't know what to do. And sometimes, I think people either overreact or underreact, and that could have negative or positive ramifications on those relationships. So with that, I'd love to hear your advice on, what friends and family have done for you.
I would say not treating me like the disease, the illness. Don't treat me that way, because I'm definitely, I'm going to do all I can not to behave that way. I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm not, I don't want a pity party. I don't want my family and friends to pity me. I want y'all to link up with me. Link up with me and help me fight this thing by educating ourselves. Be there for me in that sense. But definitely don't pity me. Please don't pity me, because I do that enough when I'm in my own time by myself. Mm-hmm. And I have like I said, my support team is outstanding. I can call any one of my sisters, I can call my children, just a telephone call away. I have friends that I can any time of the night. Tara, we'll be on Facebook 2-3 o'clock in the morning. She'll see that green light on and she's texting me, you all right? What you doing? You okay? And I love it. I'm up going through, or maybe not going through, just up, can't sleep, or I'm encouraging, another fellow sister or brother that, it's going to be okay. And, but by all means, no pity over here. Don't have time for that. I make no time to feel sorry for it. It's too much work to be done. And we can cry about it later. We can definitely cry about it later, but for right now, we have work to do.
I love it. I love the response to that. And I love the fact that you have people reaching out to you at 2-3 o'clock in the morning when they see the green lights on Facebook.
I have that. It's nothing for my sister Pam and my niece to, do the video call, and they won't stop till they get me now. They would not stop till they get me, But
I love it.
When they reach me, they're not talking about cancer. They just want to, what you doing, what you eating on, what you got planned for tomorrow, or helping me, like, I don't want to say forget, but not focusing on, because it comes a time where we have to talk about it.
Yeah.
And we'll have that time. Yes, I'm grateful for that.
But you don't have to be immersed in it 24/7, right? Like,
absolutely.
You know the reality of it, and everyone in your circle, your support, knows the reality of it. But it doesn't define you. It's not you.
That's not who I am.
Yeah. So
not
powerful.
At all. I'm so
powerful.
Much more than that.
So powerful. Next question. And I want to bring Pam in here on this one too, as well, Pam, from your perspective. But first, let's go to Angela. And the question is, someone listening to this podcast just got diagnosed today. They're listening to it same day. What would be your advice to them from your perspective? And then I'd love to get Pam's perspective on it as well.
My advice to that person would be, pray, and maybe pray, stay positive, and stay hopeful. Every testimony I've read or heard, it doesn't all end in death. It's a struggle, it's a fight. So, but my advice would be just to keep a positive attitude, hope for the best, even when the oncologist and your medical team tell you the worst. Hope, look for the best. It's always hope in every bad situation. I believe that. Not that everybody may believe that, but that's my belief. Hope for the best. Hope for the best. And live each and every day like it's your last. But while you're living, live. Do something that you wouldn't have not ordinarily done. Go to a play, read a book, or love on your family even the more. Love on your family even the more. That would be my advice. That's all I have. That would be my advice.
It's phenomenal. Pam, I want to ask you in your experience, and I know you've gone through cancer as well, but seeing what Angela's gone through, what advice would you give to a family member that maybe has a loved one battling from that perspective, and also maybe share your thoughts, going through your own fight?
Well, I would have to say, same thing that Angela said, fight. From my experience, I took it with a grain of salt. I had my dentist to diagnose me with oral cancer, and oral cancer you don't hear about that a lot. Oral cancer, I had severe oral cancer. I had a tumor at the top of my root of my mouth, and I thought it was a gumball. And I paid it no mind, so I kept putting, oral gel up there and thinking it'll go away. And when I went to my dentist, he did a biopsy. It came back, it was stage 4 cancer. And it was, like I said, it was a severe cancer where I got diagnosed December the 8th, 2008. And it was so severe that I had to have surgery January the 9th of 2009 because he had to hurry up and get it out. It didn't spread. It just was like centimeters away from my brain, which it could have spread it, but it just stayed right there the whole time that I went through all of this. And I went through 5 surgeries. I did 5 treatments of chemo and 16 treatments of radiation. Then I did 35 days of hyperbaric where they get all the chemo and the radiation out of it. So it's been a journey, but from that day, December 8th, 2008, my thing was when my dentist told me that, and he just, hugged me, and the nurse came in and hugged me. I was like, I'll be all right. This was my attitude. I'm gonna be all right. I said, I got 2 kids to raise. I'm not gonna let anybody else raise my kids. I'm gonna fight this. God, me and you gonna fight this. And that's been my attitude from that day to this day. I get up every day. I have to fight to get myself together. I wear a prosthetic piece in my mouth because without that, I'm not able to talk and eat, spit, whatever. I didn't write journals and stuff, but I started singing and stuff they told me that I couldn't do anymore. So that's my journey. I sing to myself all the time because my mom was a singer, and she was she was a journalist too. She wrote everything, always writing us letters, and we would joke and say, "Mom wrote you a letter." Like, yeah, I got a letter too. So that was, But for me, I sing. I encourage myself. I don't need no cheerleading squad. And my sister would say all the time, "You're a fighter. You so strong. You do stuff." No, because this is my fight, and not to be so trying to be arrogant or conceited or anything. I have to take care of me because I know what's best for me, and then the Lord knows what's best for me. So I have to keep pushing and doing it, every day. I don't want to get up every day. It's hard for me to get up. Don't nobody see what goes on behind closed door, but God Almighty and my husband and, myself. This is not an easy journey for me. I'm still fighting it. And am I scared? Yeah, I'm still scared because cancer runs in our family strong. So every time I feel an ache or pain, I'm worried. You know what I'm saying? But I believe in God. That's my faith. You know what I'm saying? I walk with the arm of God. You know what I'm saying? That's just, that's what I do. I don't let it hold me down. I keep it going. I'm with you, Angela. I have grandkids and nieces and nephews and, you know what I'm saying, to be here. And I told my doctor, I'm not going to die from this. First of all, I'm too young to die from it. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not dying from this. I said, God, I talked to God. I said, God, I'm not dying from this. This is not how I'm going out. I'm not going out from this. So I've been fighting ever since 2008. I fight every single day. I know what the doctor said, but who report what I believe? I believe the Lord's report. Right. I believe His report. I fight every day. I had a heart attack. I'd have been sick. I'd have had a blood clot in my lung. I fight. I'm fighting. Yeah. I'm fighting. I don't give up. I don't give up. I don't give up.
Well, thank you for sharing that with our audience and with us here, Pam. I mean, it's powerful. I think, listening to you speak as well as Angela, you got to find that motivation. And it might be your family, it might be your faith, it might be your job sometimes, but you got to keep getting up and keep fighting. And something that, I've said often to some people, but I don't know if it resonates sometimes. But I think life is not about being on top. It's about getting back up when life knocks you down. As we know, life knocks you down plenty of times. And I think cancer is that. It knocks you down. Cancer has a really unique way of knocking you down almost every week. Absolutely. So I think it's a real challenge.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Angela, I admire you so much. Not just as my sister, my big sister, but the person you are. You understand what? I really do. Because you have given me motivation all over again. All over again. So just listening to you today, you have given me motivation all over again. And we're going to fight this thing to the end. You know how we do. You know what we're made of. I love you. I'm here for you. Tara, I love you. Tanaya, I love you. My brother, I love y'all. And we're going to fight until the very end. But listening to you today, Angela, you gave me so much hope. Because you're a fighter, and I love you, and I believe everything. That God is going to make a way for you. And it's going to be a blessing where everybody going to scratch their head. But like, well, she was going through this and going, let them talk, Angela. Let them talk. But I love you, and we're in this together.
Without a doubt, I love you too. I love you too, and you have been my example of strength and hope and you are my example. You are my example. Not that I haven't had examples before, because both of our grandmothers, had, cancer or whatever.
Right.
But you,
Right.
firsthand, has been that example of hope and strength and perseverance. And, I got this and I can do this. And I encourage you to keep up the fight. I encourage you
Thank
to
you.
stay positive. I encourage you, to run on to see what the end gonna bring. I encourage that. God knows I encourage that. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Lord knows I'm grateful to you. I'm grateful for my family. I'm grateful for this platform.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. 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 I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad we talked about it. And, what I'm saying? Somebody hear us. Somebody listening to us. You understand what I'm saying? Somebody, like I said, I'm 12 years free, but it took me a long time to get here because they wasn't hearing, or cancer. They didn't want to hear about that. They don't want to, what I'm saying? It's very few, and it's a very rare disease, but it's very few people that has it, but they don't talk about that. They talk about breast cancer and lung cancer and so on and so on, but they won't talk about cancer. Like you say, all cancer matter.
Yeah.
All cancer matter. And I thank God for my family and my husband, and my clients for over 30 some years. My clients has been there for me, when I was down. They still, was there for me, encouraging me. And I got up and kept every morning going to the shop, doing their hair, and wasn't feeling good, but I was there. You know what I'm saying? And I still go. 34 years strong of being their hairstylist. And I thank God for each and every one of my clients. I do. I do.
Powerful stuff here, ladies. I've got one question left here for Angela, but I gotta say that I've been doing this over 4 years, and we've had, I don't know, this is probably, we're in the 200s in terms of guests, and I've never had a family. We've had families come on. I've had spouses. We've guests with their kids, but I've never had like sisters, nieces, and I wish we were in a room because we could all hug each other and tell everyone it's going to be all right. But the love that I hope our audience can feel through the podcast is really special. And again, I go back to the very beginning. We're in a really weird time in this country, and to see a family's bond and the strength that you guys have gotten from each other is really, really special. So I want to thank you guys for sharing that with our audience and with me. Absolutely. Angela, I've got my last question here for you, and this is always it's a thoughtful question. There's no right or wrong to it, and I always say this is kind of the hardest question that I ask our guests. In your experience and what you've gone through and what you're going through, how do you define the term pancreatic cancer?
I define pancreatic cancer as mean. I define it as horrible. I define it as disgusting. I define it as unfair. I define it as disrespectful. I define it as a challenge. It's a challenge. It's a challenge of anyone's faith, anyone's belief. It's a challenge, but very, 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 very ugly, very ugly, very ugly. And that's my description of it.
It's powerful. There's no right or wrong. It's your definition. And I thank you for sharing that with myself and the audience. Our last thing here, as we mentioned early on, and I know you mentioned social media a bit, if our audience listening, maybe there's someone in the Norfolk area, there might be someone throughout the world, quite frankly, because we've had guests that have been on the podcast that have connected from people with people from all over the world. But where's the best place for people to connect with you if someone wants to talk to you about what you're going through or just loves what you're saying and they want to connect with you on Facebook or on wherever that may be? I guess I was presumptuous there saying Facebook because I was thinking back to what you were saying, how you were on Facebook at 3:00 in the morning and your sister was hitting you up. But where's the best place for people to connect with you if you could share that with them?
Any and everyone, they're invited to connect with me. 757-698-8670. Anytime, any hour, day or night, 7 days a week, whenever, however. And I'm Angela Johnson on Facebook, but that's my direct telephone number, 757-698-8670.
Awesome.
And I make myself available anytime.
Angela, thank you so much. Pam, thank you for sharing your thoughts, and we continue to pray for you for your recovery and continue to stay cancer free. Yeah. Angela, it's been awesome. It's been an honor to have you as a guest on the Project Purple podcast. I was taking notes, as I said, and you mentioned something that I wrote at the very top, and I think this sums up our conversation, is that cancer chose the wrong chick.
Yes.
And that is so poignant and so perfect for this interview. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this platform. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Project Purple podcast. If you like this episode, feel free to share this episode. Follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Until next time, please be safe. That's a wrap of another episode of the Project Purple podcast.